Welcome back. We're going to be talking about Gundam-related Bionicle mocks today on the Bionicle Inspiration series, the show that spotlights mocks from across the Bionicle community to inspire you. We'll begin very quickly, I promise, but a few very quick updates before we start. I'll keep this brief so we can get to the goods. But two things. One, you might have noticed this is episode 299. How exciting. We're almost at 300 episodes. But I'm currently in the midst of doing all sorts of prep for Brick Fair, Virginia. So what I want to do for episode 300, I'm not going to have time to do, unfortunately, but it's on the way, I promise, but it might not be out until like a month or two from now. But next episode, episode 300, will be a Fancy Minute Mocks episode. I'll do my best to make that as exciting and cool as possible, but there is a special thing that I have planned. And also, I've had some people say, hey, your bell notifications don't work for the channel. Very simple fix to that if you want to turn that on. If you don't, that's fine. I'm never going to force you to do that. But if you want it, just unsubscribe, then resubscribe, and then it should work again. I don't know why it's doing that, but it's doing that. Anyway, let's talk about some Gundam mocks, shall we? So Tony A has built Warpath Gundam. Tony said that this is based off of Turn A Gundam, but otherwise the aesthetics and the proportions, they're based off of various different amounts of Gundam. So it's kind of an amalgamation of different things here. And honestly, I really like that. Yeah, if you want, you can be hyper accurate and build based off of a reference of an actual Gundam figure or something, but sometimes I think it's just way more fun to do your own thing and add your own unique touches. And look, as someone who knows very little about Gundam and will probably never build a Gundam mock unless I decide to get into it one day, but Gundam just look really cool. So even if you're not a fan, there's many different ways that you can still use Gundam as a source for inspiration. I mean, they always have really cool looking head designs. The leg armor on them I always think looks cool. The same thing can be said for the shoulders. There's just a lot of great things that you can get ideas for your own Bionicle creations just by looking at Gundam or buying a Gundam kit or whatever. So by all means, take a look at Gundam stuff and let it give you that sweet, sweet inspiration. Anyway, the mock itself, I think, is really great. The boxier torso design on here, I think, is very nice, and that certainly feels very Gundam to have something like that. I also enjoy these shoulder pads. They use some of these old boat stud pieces in blue, and they form a interesting kind of mesh of armor or something. I don't know. It looks really unique and is pretty different. And, sometimes unique and different, there's really all that makes something good. So, hey, I like that. It's also really nice to see a bunch of old gold being used on this mock. A lot of people use the more modern gold today because it's just more common in LEGO sets, of course. But hey, it's good to see a bit of love for this older color here. And it also works really nicely with red, blue, and white. Nice color combination there. The smooth look of these leg designs is also really cool, and I like the contrast then when we flip the mock to the other side, and we see this not-so-smooth jetpack here. I think the inclusion of these bars that link the top part and the bottom is really fun. This could have worked really nicely as just that top bit there, but making sure that it branches down and includes the smaller section at the bottom, that's really cool. Yeah, just really nice work all throughout this Gundam mock here. There's a lot of nice stuff going on, and hey, for a mock that was built back in 2014, it still holds up. It's really cool. Now we can see that Cubic has built Death Scythe Hell. Now this one is actually based off of an actual Gundam. It's by the same name as this mock. At least that's what it says on Flickr. He also says that this takes aspects from the 3 variants of this specific suit. So if that means something to you, it'll probably mean more than it means to me. But that's pretty cool anyway. But this is really nice. I love the head design here, especially this nice accent of yellow for this crown or crest. That's just cool. And honestly, I think head crests are something that, yeah, you see them all the time on Gundam, but there's no reason you couldn't add something like that onto your regular Bionicle creations. Like I said, there's a lot of cool stuff and a lot of good inspiration that's there on Gundam stuff. So if this looks this cool on this mock, it'll look pretty cool on your mock too, I'm pretty sure. The legs are pretty snazzy too on this mock. Nice to see that it uses some of these classic black shoulder pad pieces that we often see on the Star Wars Ultra Build sets. And yeah, just overall, the leg design has such a nice, sleek, elongated look to it. And to me, it gives off this sense that the legs could have some sort of combustion chamber or engine or something inside of them, and they'd turn into rockets and they could fly off or something like that. It's a unique and awesome leg design. Also, choosing the lime tentacle pieces to recreate the weapon is a simple but pretty effective way of doing that. And also, let's not ignore the elephant in the room here. Mr. Moneybags here with his big black ender dragon wings. Those are not cheap pieces, actually. But hey, if you've got some, use some. I mean, it's better than having these expensive pieces sit in a safe, tucked away, never to be touched, and later to be sold for investment. No, man, if you've got cool pieces, build with them. So nice to see those here. Hey, if you've got some lying around, they aren't cheap. Anyway, This mock is super cool. Now we move over to Ron Falkers, and he's built Lewa T9 Gundam. So this is a more direct crossover between Bionicle and Gundam, sort of, if Lewa were a Gundam kind of dealio, and I love that. Right off the bat, there's teal and there's lime. What a winning color combination. I think that looks fantastic. It's nice to see that the Gundam-inspired armor here is decked out in these colors, and, when I look at that armor, and also then when I look at this mask, never realized how cool that Lewa mask is. I never really realized that it actually does kind of give off Gundam vibes, or at least kind of, fighter jet kind of qualities to it, and that's so cool. So great to include that here because it's surprisingly fitting. I also love the detail of that lime tail piece sticking out of the head. Again, a very appropriate Gundam detail. Fantastic choice. The knees on this are also very interesting. They're certainly more stylized, which again seems very appropriate for a Gundam creation. But I love these two pieces specifically. These dark grey parts that form the kind of knee here. These are the Pahatu Fantoka weapon pieces, or at least kind of the base of them. We also have these lime green Hero Factory 2.0 heads. They're kind of used as, again, kind of part of the knee. Those look fantastic. And also, we've got these 1.0 Hero Factory Breeze feet. Now, these feet have this very nice angular look to them, and it perfectly fits in with the vibe here, and perfectly complements those other two pieces that I mentioned before. So those are just three specific pieces that are being used on this mock, but man, they perfectly fit that Gundam aesthetic. So solid choice there, and just in general, what a brilliant presence that this mock has. I adore this. I also adore the system on that torso there, but it's probably just because I like teal as a color. Still, everything about this mock is just awesome. And finally, AV Robertson has built CLR-X1105 Enhanced Aerial Strike Gundam Mark IV. Oh, now this is a shining example of a brilliant LEGO Gundam mock. I mean, look at this great torso design using those Nuva shoulder pieces in blue and that classic Mata feet just sandwiched on the side there. What a great way to make a boxy looking Gundam torso. Also, the custom head is really nice. Once again, has that yellow crest. Now, sure, there's some minifigure hands attached to the edges of those Exoforce robot arm pieces in yellow. You could say that's an illegal technique, but you could also say, who cares? It looks nice. It doesn't matter. I think it's good. It's a good choice. These beefy shoulders are great as well. The streaks of red coming off of the edges, that's a very nice touch. And honestly, I think all of the red highlights on this mock are really cool. The nice bits on the torso, as well as these lines coming off of it. And then these snazzy red shoes. Heck, it's even those same old Hero Factory 1.0 pieces, this time in red. So nice to see some commonality between these mocks. But yeah, all the red there just pops really nicely. Also, these wings, when we flip the mock onto its back here, well, I guess they're more maybe engines. I don't know what the appropriate term is for Gundam with that specifically, but regardless, the kind of wings that you often see on Gundam, they're more traditionally kind of like larger lines, just in the sort of, just to really basically describe how they look. And when we look at how they've been done here, they're mainly using these silver Bionicle weapon pieces. And I think that's just nice to note that Bionicle pieces can really easily translate that type of wing design. It's a lot more difficult to build like a bat or a dragon, wing design that has that more kind of like flesh look to it, where you need like cloth or some sort of other more intricate design to effectively nail that. Instead, this is just multiple like kind of lines or streaks, so silver weapon pieces or something like that is the best way of translating that. And you got so many different pieces like that with your Bionicle stuff, so that's an easy thing to do, thankfully. So nice to know that your Bionicle lends itself nicely to that. And hey, it looks fantastic on this mock. Overall, such a fantastic design, and it perfectly captures everything about Gundam but translates it beautifully into Bionicle and LEGO form. So that's it for this episode of the Bionicle Inspiration series. Hope you very much enjoyed. And if you want to see some of your own mocks on the show, you can submit them through the submission email that's currently on your screen. Just a heads up, though, if you submit mocks by the time you're seeing this episode, they will not be in episode 300 because I've already pre-recorded it by the time you will be seeing this episode. But don't let that discourage you from submitting your mocks anyway. There's no reason they won't be featured in future episodes. So you can still submit them through the submission email that's currently on your screen. It's also in the description below if you want to copy and paste it and put it in the email. Speaking of things in the description, there's also links to my own social media down there, and there's links to the mocks you saw today. So maybe you could click on those links and let the original builders know just how much you love the mocks that they made, because I can't do this show without the people that I feature. So you may as well go over and give them some love and support because they deserve it. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Happy building, and bye for now.